Hello, my friend, and welcome. In today's video, what I thought I'd do is talk about permanent residency. One of the most common questions I get asked is, how do I get PR in Australia? Now, I just want to put in a disclaimer here that I am an education agent, not a migration agent. So the advice that I'm giving you is a guide only. And if you want more specific information, I always suggest that you talk to a migration lawyer or agent who is more experienced in this area. But for the purpose of today, what I thought I'd do is give you an overview of the requirements of permanent residency and where you can find information about it, so that way you can undertake some research yourself and identify if it is really for you, or if you're just focused on studying and then looking at going home and then building your life around that back in your home country. Whenever you're looking for advice about different types of visas, I always recommend that you come to the Department of Home Affairs website, as this has all the information required for you to understand what are the different requirements that you need to undertake for your different visa conditions. And it also means you can also develop your IMI account as well. And you also have the option of looking at your VIVO or your visa entitlement verification online and those kind of things too. So for the purpose of today's video, I've gone to the permanent resident tab, and here is a bit of an overview. So you can become a permanent resident of Australia by applying for and being granted a permanent visa that allows you to remain in Australia indefinitely. The most common permanent visas include some skilled work and family visas. To find out a visa that suits your needs, explore visa options. So we'll come to that shortly. But as you can see up the top here, you've got your overview, entitlements, overseas travel as a permanent resident, proof of permanent residency, and visa options. When we scroll further down, we look at the requirements. So how to meet our requirements, the travel options, and citizenship in the future, which I'm sure is something that you would be interested in undertaking if you are watching this video, of course. And let's click on the Explore Visa. So when you click on that, what happens is this tab opens, and these are all the different type of visas brackets or groups that you can see. Generally, those that are coming to study as an international student will tend to select this one, who is genuine, who is just looking to study in Australia and then looking to go back home. But there are other visa options. There is your visit and tourism. There's your work ones. Join your partner or family, live here permanently, which we're going to take a closer look at, refugees and humanitarian, and other visas. For the purpose of today's video, let's look at live here permanently. So when I click on that, it opens up a new tab for me. And here it takes me straight to the back end where it says visa options. So when we first started the video, it started off as overview and took us straight to visa options. Now let's have a look. What are the different visa options that are available? People can become a permanent resident of Australia in different ways. 3 common ways of becoming a permanent resident are through gaining a family stream permanent visa, a work stream permanent visa, or a business or investor stream permanent visa. Check that you meet our criteria before you apply. If your visa has a no further stay condition attached, you cannot stay in Australia beyond the period specified in your visa in order to apply for permanent residency. So very important point. If you apply for one of these visas, you need to make sure that you are looking to apply for your permanent residency before your visa expires. Otherwise, you will miss your opportunity. To find out a visa that suits your needs, explore visa options, which is what we've looked at. And here it provides you a bit of a breakdown of each of the visas. So your family stream, your work stream, your business and innovation or investment, and other options. So when we briefly have a look at these 3 different visas, permanent residency visas, These are for partners, children, parents, or dependent relatives of an Australian citizen, permanent resident of Australia, or eligible New Zealand citizen. Children being adopted or in the process of being adopted outside of Australia, carers who need to move to Australia to provide long-term care for an approved relative. So let's say, for example, if you have relatives in Australia and they're elderly or they're sick or need help, that is one option that you may be able to apply for this particular visa, provided that your relative is an Australian citizen or permanent resident as well. You have work stream permanent residency visas. These are for workers who have an Australian employer sponsoring them to work in Australia or have skills that Australia values. Explore permanent options here. So for workers, so you've got the link there to provide to look for more information. Or you have a third option, which is your business or investment stream permanent residency visa. There's more information around that, and that talks about like establishing a business in Australia, how much money you need to show, and those kind of things. But for this video, I'm just going to provide an overview. In future videos, I'll go into a little bit more detail. Other options, retirement visa pathway. The Australian government has recently created a pathway to permanent residency for eligible retirees. In a lot of cases, you who are my clients, my students, will not fall into this category because I feel that a lot of you tend to be under the age of 30, well, probably under the age of 50. So this may not apply to you, but there is information here that you can take a look at. This pathway provides options for long-term residents who have contributed to and are well established in the community. The government has built the pathway by setting aside a portion of places from the permanent migration scheme for parents. You can learn more through that. Former residence and visa. So if you've been a resident of Australia before, this is an option. Another option that you can look at is the global talent visa. This visa is for people with an international recognized record of exceptional and outstanding achievement. So there's a link to that visa as well. And refugees and humanitarian visas. These visas are for people who left their home country due to persecution. So it's a challenging visa. So just think about that when you're looking to apply for that. Either one of these, I would always recommend that you maybe talk to a migration agent who can provide you with more information. So coming back to entitlements, if we have a quick overview here. As an Australian permanent resident and an Australian citizen are not the same. As a permanent resident of Australia, you generally can remain in Australia indefinitely, work and study in Australia, enrol in Australia's National Health Scheme or Medicare, apply for bank loans and buy property, sponsor eligible relatives for permanent residency, apply for Australian citizenship if available or if eligible, travel to and from Australia for as long as your travel facility permits. And then there's more information about the travel side that you can link to and have a look. Attend free English language classes provided by the Adult Migration English Program. And you can also work in New Zealand. You may also qualify for other government benefits and services. If you hold a permanent visa, but you are not resident in Australia, your eligibility for the above may be impacted. Contact the relevant government department or authorities to confirm your rights and obligations. So you just need to make sure that you do talk to the government for some kind of benefits that you may or may not receive and just seek clarity from them. Unlike Australian citizens, a permanent resident generally cannot have an Australian passport. So that's one thing you can't do. Vote in Australian government election unless you are enrolled as a British subject before the 26th of January 1984. Access student loans, join the Australian Defence Force, obtain ongoing work in the Australian government, Return to Australia from overseas without a valid travel facility. You do not have automatic rights to entry to Australia. So if you are a permanent resident and you are looking to travel overseas, you need to make sure you tick all the boxes so that you don't get caught out that you can't come back to the country. So always an important thing to double check before you leave the country. And then let's have a look at the overseas travel requirements. So they are there. I won't go into too much detail there because the point of it is that you actually want to become an Australian resident or permanent resident, not to come to Australia then travel. So, but if you do need more information about that, there is more information there that you can have a look at. Maybe in another video, I can cover that down the track. Proof of permanent residency. So here you've got options of how you can prove that you are a permanent resident. So there's some details and information on there that you can look at, different type of documents and things like that. So just a quick overview here. To prove permanent residency status, you can use your Vivo to email or print out your status or give permission to an organisation or government agency to perform a Vivo check. Now, this is all good background information, but when we go back to the visa options, the most common ones are going to either be your family stream, permanent residency, or your work stream, permanent residency, or your business. So if I click on the family one, that gave you information there. So really, in a nutshell, the only way to do that is if you've already got a relative that's here in Australia and you're looking to support. Coming to the worker side, so let's have a look at the worker options. You can also click on this link and look at what are the different work options. What kind of work will you be doing? So you've got some questions there that you can answer and then follow the prompts to go to certain sections. But it really comes down to the skills occupation list. What are the skill demands that the country is looking for? And the other thing that you're also going to be needing to think about is your age as well. So that's something else to think about. Your age becomes a factor. So if you're going to apply for permanent residency in Australia, I would really be aiming to try to do this before the age of 40, if you can. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of difficulty in that sense. Now, other things you'll also need to or can look at, if I go back to explore visa options, is the business investment side. So if I click on that, here, what you can look at doing is you can look at how you can invest in a business. So business and investment right there. So let's click on that. Let's click on continue. What type of business activity do you tend to do? So attending a conference is not really going to get you a permanent residency. Business investment activities will. Entrepreneurial activities will help you. General business, employment inquiries or negotiations may, or own or manage a business. So let's say for the purpose of this activity, let's select own or manage a business, and let's go continue. And then what you have is the option of a subclass 132, or there's about 5 different visas you can look at. One is a business talent permanent residency visa, and there's some information about that. Business innovation and investment, which is a provisional visa. You've got business innovation and investment, which is a permanent visa. Then you've got business owner visa, and you've got your state or territory sponsored business owner visa. So a couple of different things that you can look at that provide you for more information in that space. So just really think about that from that point of view. I'll make sure that I've provided all the links below for you. And the other important thing as well is before you can apply for any permanent residency, You'll also need to undertake a health check to make sure that you meet the health requirements of Australia. That's really important. And the other thing that you will need to also look at as an option is things like any police checks, criminal checks, those kind of things, to make sure that you are a person of standard that meets the Australian standard requirements, that you're not going to do something that you're not supposed to be doing. So that gives you a bit of an overview of that space. Once again, I just want to really clarify that I, again, am not a migration agent. So I'm only just giving you my opinion and just showing you what you could look at as an option, because this is a question that's always asked. So when you are looking to study in Australia and you see the different ways of becoming a permanent resident, have a think about what that process may look like. Are you more interested in, say, for example, studying about business or something related to a trade that will help you to start a business in Australia in the future, where you may potentially need to go home first, set yourself up, and then look at opportunities to move to Australia or develop a business in Australia as an option? That is one possibility. Other options are, do you have relatives that are already here that you can support and help? Is that an option? So these are the kind of different questions you need to ask yourself. Often students fall into the trap of just looking to come and study and not taking their age into consideration, not also taking the time into consideration for how long it can take to become a permanent resident. So as an example of that, in one of my previous videos, I demonstrated to you in how to check the global visa processing time. Now, I'll share that link below. Here I've added the business talent visa, the subclass 132, which is what we looked at as a business investment. I selected the option between significant business history and venture entrepreneur and selected today's date. I hit submit. And here you can see it's taking 1,224 days. So that's like about 3 years to process, versus a student visa, which might take 12 months for a vocational course, or maybe 6 to 7 months or 8 months for a university degree. So there is a significant difference between the times. If I was to select, for example, significant business history, same time frame, there's not much of a difference when it comes to the days that is different. So you can have a play around in this section, and let's say, for example, the provisional visa, and let's say entrepreneur as an example. Look at that. Such a big difference there. Business innovation and investment provisional visa as an entrepreneur, today's date, 280 days. So that is almost the same time frame as applying for a vet program. So there is a lot to think about for you in this space. Hopefully that helps you to answer some of those questions about how do you become a permanent resident in Australia. Now, again, my focus is on international student education and career management, so helping you to build a better career for yourself and your family. But if you found this video useful, please give me the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos. If you do want to have a chat to me in reference to studying in Australia, or if you want me to help you to put you onto somebody who's a migration agent that can help you with some of these other visas, please make a booking with myself and I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.